What's scarier? Unfinished business in the afterlife or unspoken trauma in real life?
There is no unfinished business in the afterlife, and unspoken trauma will create the problem in the afterlife.
Real quick, before this episode gets underway, I just want to have a little bit of a disclaimer. The guests' views and beliefs are not that of the hosts and the shows. And I just want to make that perfectly fine and clear with the audience beforehand. Again, I am a practicing pagan and all the things that come with it. So believe me, whenever I say stuff is not necessarily black magic, whenever it's referred to as such. So everyone keep their beliefs to themselves, and just remember it's okay that everyone has different beliefs. So with that, let's enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to Retrieving Sanity, your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And I've got a super special guest today. My guest today is someone who walks between the worlds, literally. Tina Erwin is a metaphysical author, a former Navy commander, and what she calls a ghost helper. That's right, Tina helps souls who are stuck between this life and the next to find peace, and she teaches the living how to do the same. After a 20-year career in the U.S. Submarine Force, she turned her attention to the unseen world. Blending hard science with spiritual insight, she's written 9 books on metaphysics and developed the Crossing Over Prayer, a tool to help both the living and the dead find clarity, compassion, and closure. Today we're talking about ghosts, mental health, and what it means to truly heal on both sides of the veil. So Tina, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I love this topic.
I'm so glad that you're doing great, and I'm glad that you love the topic too. But first, before we get too much further, I do want to say thank you for your service and for everything you've done for the military and for anyone on this side or the other side for what you do.
Oh, you're very welcome. I was very privileged. It was a real honor to work with the mostly men in the submarine force, including my husband of 52 years, who's also a submariner. And, you know, when you deliberately submerge your ship, you had better be really psychic. You better be able to feel the ship. So these men taught me a lot about an unseen world of energy, only they wouldn't have called it that. It was a fabulous experience.
Huh. That's so interesting. I never really would have thought that having psychic talents or the feeling of it would come in handy in a sub. But now that you mention it, it does kind of make sense, right? Because you got to feel everything around you to a degree,
They
right?
can- when you are in the surface Navy calls them sewer pipe sailors and the submarine force calls them targets. It's the rivalry. When you are in this long tube of HY 120 steel, high yield steel,
Mm-hmm.
and all these people are working together, somebody has a bad day, everybody feels it. It just, that energy echoes through the ship. Remember, metal holds on to energy. That's why you see these psychics who hold on to a pair of keys and they use psychometry and they're feeling something. You're in a metal tube, for God's sake. Everything around you is metal. So if you have a horrible morale on your crew, the probability that you're going to have an accident goes up exponentially. But if you have a crew that works well together, there is a synergy there. Everyone is in sync. And if you have an occasional person who gets a bad familygram, which was how we communicated with crews when my husband was doing submarine patrols, then you knew how to help that person.
Okay.
And so everyone has to be very stable, very committed. And these really are some of the smartest, most remarkable men. And now there are some women, because when I was in the Navy, women could not serve aboard submarines. I did other things, unusual things for the Navy and for the submarine force. And so, but when you're doing this, these are some of the most intelligent individuals you will ever meet. They're amazing.
Oh man, I can imagine, because it is essentially a whole nother world whenever you're underwater, especially that far, right?
Yes. When you pass the 100 fathom curve and then you submerge the ship, then you enter a whole different world. I mean, I've been on every class of submarine except Seawolf.
Whoa.
And I was only allowed to go for different kinds of cruises, or if I was, I designed equipment that protected submarines from terrorist attack, among many other things. And so
Whoa.
I had to be on every class of submarine to look at all the specs that I would need to design this equipment and look at the capability of the ship and the dimensions of the ship so that what I was designing would fit.
Mm-hmm.
It was an astonishing job. And what enabled me to do was to look at all the scenarios that a submarine would find itself, especially you're in a foreign port. You're on the surface, you're docked at a pier. The Mina Sulman Pier could be, in Bahrain, or you're in the Molo and Naples, or wherever you are. You're a lot more vulnerable surfaced at a pier, although you're a small profile, than you are when you're submerged and you just make a hole in the ocean, literally. So it's a very different world, very focused world, extremely disciplined.
Oh, yeah. And that discipline carries over into everyday life, right?
Yes, that's how I was able to write 9 books and do all the audio myself. So, yes.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. First of all, congratulations on that accomplishment in its own right. That is really impressive.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. The last one, which is Psychic Children, Psychic People,
Ooh.
this is a 16-hour audiobook.
Oh.
So, I mean, I go into everything from understanding the dimensions. What's the second dimension? What's the third? What's the fourth dimension? How do you move between them? Why are there different dimensions? All the way to understanding how all that connects to quantum entanglement. Because once you can understand the science behind metaphysics, all of a sudden the mystery becomes miraculous.
It's not so much a mystery anymore. It is just a miracle in some sense.
Correct.
Oh, that is so. Oh, I love thinking about it that way because a lot of people think that whenever we go really, 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 really small, everything kind of gets irrelevant because why would we ever need to know about something so small, right? But it actually has an impact on everything that we do, if I'm not mistaken.
That is the basis of quantum entanglement and string theory. And that goes back to the days of Lemuria. When
Mm.
you go down that rabbit hole, there is a complete chain of understanding that shows you how it's all connected. That's
Mm.
why when you really study metaphysics, it's like mental popcorn. You just can't get enough. It's so much fun.
It really is. And this is why I'm so glad that we get to speak together because I get to learn a whole lot more about a passion that I've had ever since I was little. So not only that, but you also take it to a whole nother level. And I've just been like, how can some people heal grief through helping a spirit or a ghost cross over? Like how does that work?
Oh, well, that's a great question. Let's take suicide,
Okay.
because suicide engenders one of the most painful grief a family member can have. Loss of a child, a murder victim, they're all in that league.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a family member who takes their own life, and then that individual, that soul gets to the other side, and what they realize is, gosh, I shouldn't have done that, because it's not any better in the fourth dimension. All these dark beings come at you. Remember the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg?
Uh-huh.
All right. In that film, you saw these, when the bad guys died, you saw these little 3-foot tall guys came at them, and they made the funny sounds with the red eyes. They
Mm-hmm.
exist. I've seen them, I don't know, I've seen them for 30 years. And so they're called lower realm intelligences. They have a name.
Mm.
They're extremely accurately depicted in that film. And they come based on your frequency. I mean, if you're just a good person doing your thing, you're never going to see them. But if you are surrounded by darkness, if literally when someone is this depressed to perpetrate violence against themselves, their world is gray. You see color. You have color. I'm looking at your studio. You've got color all around you. Color represents life
Yeah.
in all its majesty. when you are severely depressed, it is the lowest of all frequencies. You can't see beyond this gray darkness. It's like you're in a perpetual fog.
Mm-hmm.
When you take your own life and you cross into the fourth dimension, because it's a step, like a transformer. You can't go from the third to the fifth because there's a frequency mismatch. You have to use something that transforms the energy to get you there. But if you're so depressed you can't get there, you're stuck there. And so you're now really depressed, and now you're grieving. My gosh, the pain I've caused my family, I had no idea. So you're grieving. Now, the mortal family member can't differentiate between the grief of the person who just took their own life and their own grief. You can't, you're overwhelmed with two dynamics of grief. And this is a huge concept. An example, we had a client she was in South Africa, and she had, are you ready for it? 17 family members commit suicide. Yeah. That's why people say, oh my God, it runs in families, it's contagious. No, it's not.
Holy.
You have the suicide person standing next to you, and their energy is your energy. They are trying to talk to you. So you're surrounded by the energy of suicide. As soon as you say the crossing over prayer I have the book. Sorry. I also wrote the crossing over prayer book. And in this book is the compassion prayer for suicide. As soon as you use that prayer yourself, or you just ask angels to cross this soul, bring in angels to escort them to the heaven world right now, because there's no time in the fourth dimension. So you have to tell them when this action is to take place. It's part of the physics of metaphysics. This woman had all 17 family members crossed over, and all of a sudden she was no longer depressed. She was having suicidal ideation. That all stopped. She got married. Her business took off. She felt joy for the first time. She couldn't believe the difference.
Heck yeah.
All because as you help others, so are you also healed. So by helping all of her family members, or you help one family member who took their life, and they're feeling the light of the divine, embrace them and give them all kinds of beautiful healing, then there's a part of you that breathes in more light, and your healing can take off.
That is crazy. 17 family members doing that? That is, whoa, way beyond my comprehension of that, because I've had to deal with not family doing that, but friends, and that is hard enough. So I can only imagine that multiplied that many times. So holy crap. But you were saying two things that I want to touch on real quick. One, are you familiar with the 12 steps?
Yes, it's the AA process.
Yeah.
There is in other words, their basis is there is no healing without God.
Well, there's a few different bases. The one that I'm going to maybe not nitpick, but point out is that there's a saying in recovery rooms that you have to give what you got to keep it. So essentially, you have to help someone through their sobriety to help maintain your sobriety. And that's kind of how I'm feeling whenever you're saying, like, if you help others, you help yourself in return, right?
I just did a podcast with another host, and she said, the more I'm giving to others, amazing things are happening to me. It was an entire show about generosity and the karma of generosity, because I've also written 3 karma books. So, because if I were abducted by aliens tomorrow, I would want this information to be available. So,
oh, yeah.
So, when you think about that, as you give to others, it has, under the laws of karma, not me, but the laws of karma and the laws of physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. It's just physics 101. What you're giving out has to come back to you.
I love that. You're also saying that whenever someone is helping spirit or ghost, whatever, real quick, how do we want to refer to them?
Ghosts, spirits, or alcohol.
Oh,
Spirit,
thank you.
I'm going to be real blunt about it because people say I talk to spirit. I'm sorry, who is that? A
It-
spirit can be a lower realm intelligence, a ghost, an angel, a black magician.
mhm.
What
Yeah.
is it?
Yep.
Let's be specific. It's
Uh-huh.
a ghost.
Okay. All right. And I'm really glad that you said that because I was an alcoholic for about a decade, the better part of one, going on 4 years sober. And so hearing someone,
Congratulations. That takes courage.
thank you. And that's one of the things that I learned was that alcohol or booze, like I already knew it was called spirits, but whenever I was going through recovery, I was like, oh, that's why they're called spirits because it lowers my vibration, my energy, and allows everything else to influence me in ways I don't want to be influenced. Is that kind of correct?
Well, let's take that a step further.
Okay.
There are two psychiatrists, Dr. Raymond Moody and Dr. Bruce Goldberg, and in their work, which is why I study so many other amazing authors,
Mm-hmm.
they discuss the fact that a person who is drinking can be inhabited by up to 60 alcoholic ghosts at a time. 60. This is why giving up alcohol is so difficult. So you want to cross the alcoholic ghosts over. That's why quitting alcohol, drugs, tobacco, or gambling is so difficult. In ancient times, in the old traditions of magic, they were called hungry ghosts because they were hungry for the alcohol or the drugs or the feeling of gambling.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that comes from. And that's why a person who is drinking can feel like, they do these actions and they go, but it wasn't me. I don't do that. Normally I'm mild mannered. But the ghost who walked right in literally possessed them for a period of time and
Mm.
did things that when the person was sober, they would never have done.
Mm. That is really interesting. And but that doesn't really necessarily give someone an excuse to say, "Oh, I did this because I was being possessed by the spirits all of a sudden," right? It's kind of more like you knew you were doing this, like ingesting the alcohol, so it's kind of on you still, right?
There is a responsibility because alcohol drops your frequency to a really, really low level.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote a book called Karma and Frequency so that you could understand what raises frequency and what lowers frequency. There's another amazing author, not Bruce Goldberg, but David Hawkins,
Hmm.
wrote a remarkable book. I highly recommend it called Power versus Force. And he talks about frequency in a very specific and wonderful way. And I think that if you're going to talk about ghosts and metaphysics, discussing some of the hard sciences that go back to frequency is really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're raising your frequency, you're raising your frequency such that a ghost can't inhabit you
Hmm.
because your frequency is too high. So you're changing the soul. But
Huh.
if you ever think that there is a soul in the Crossing Over Prayer book, there are prayers to cross over an alcoholic ghost.
Man, I know a lot of people that might need to actually try that for themselves and then let me know the results because I'm sober, so I can't really do that, can I?
If you are with someone who does have an alcohol problem,
Mm-hmm.
read the Crossing Over Prayer for an alcoholic ghost, or
Hmm.
someone who is struggling with a drug problem, or at an AA meeting as a cool experiment, read this crossing over prayer. I mean, I could send you a PDF of it as a
Okay.
courtesy to be able to read this out loud and let someone know that maybe all the ghosts that are with people in that room, what would happen if they all left at once?
Dude, I don't know. That'd be crazy.
That'd be mind-boggling. I mean, isn't this amazing?
Yeah. Yeah, that would change the feel of the room so fast. I don't know what anyone would actually do. And it's funny
They
that
would wake up. They would feel like they're alone in their body.
alone in their body, and that's not an easy feeling to come to, is it?
No, but you can be alone in your body. I mean, I see this with twins an adult who had a twin who died. The twin is still with them. In
Hmm.
many cases, they never feel like they're alone. So I have a crossing over prayer for a twin who has died. And what
Oh.
happens, I've had this happen so many times, finally feel alone in their body because their twin is now crossed over.
Oh, wow. And that is some pretty powerful evidence because it's a really good comparison of sorts, especially for those that are more of the mundane mind, because twins almost have that psychological link between them. And almost
Mhm.
everyone knows that twins can almost read each other's minds and they can tell where the other one, what they're thinking and stuff like that. So if one were to pass and then the other one could feel psychically, that would to me do a whole lot of proof. But that's one of those things, how do you convince, how do you prove this to someone, especially like say an alcoholic or someone that's doing yeah, we'll just stick with alcohol because they have heard all these different things, right? But how do you get them to actually like see it?
That's not my job. My job
Oh,
is to make it available.
okay.
And a lot of times, and the reason these prayers for helping an alcoholic family member, prayers for an alcoholic to help him or herself, and then prayers to cross them over. I was writing this book, and I don't know how this woman knew, but she wrote me through contact@ghosthelpers.com, and I love my husband. She was from India. How she
Ooh,
found me, I don't even know. But there are miracles. And she said, my husband's an alcoholic, and can you please write a prayer for me that will help me to protect myself from him? But if he dies, that I can cross him over. So that's how those prayers came to be. It was a request from someone living.
whoa.
And so that's why they were written. So for family members to use those prayers, because prayers connect the family member to the divine.
Okay.
Every time you pray, you open up your heart to the divine, to
Mm-hmm.
God, whether it's to Christ or to the Buddha or the great ones on the higher realms.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're doing that, you're changing your frequency and you're bringing it up.
Mm.
Now, you cannot pray that the person change to please you.
That don't work that way.
No, well, that's a violation of spiritual law. You can't want something for someone that they don't want for themselves. And you can't want something from someone that they have no capacity to give you.
So right there is like another mundane thing whenever someone finds someone emotionally unavailable and that's all they want is their attention, their love, but that other person can't give it to them because it's not theirs to give, right?
They may not have the capacity. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of being angry and projecting anger and blame on the person, step back and ask yourself, do I want something that this person doesn't have the capacity to give me? Or like my mother-in-law wanted me to join the Baptist church. I'm sure it's a great church, but that wasn't me. So she wanted something for me that I didn't want for myself. And so how you get someone to use this on a spiritual journey, things seem to be put in your path at the right time. Like this podcast might awaken someone who listens to something they never thought of before. It might be true spiritual service, which I suspect is what you're really doing. And when you're doing that, sometimes miracles happen. And if someone happens to read that prayer, if you say, I stumbled on this prayer from the Crossing Over prayer book, would it be all right if I read it? And you don't know what might happen in the room. And you usually read it 3 times and you
Okay.
use authority in your voice. And what
Mm.
happens is you're filling the room with angels
Okay.
and you're
Huh.
asking the angels to do spiritual service to escort all of the ghosts into the light right
Mm.
now. That's what you're doing. And you're giving them something that and because remember, the ghosts who are haunting a living person or an alcoholic or whoever, suicide, whoever, are earning detrimental karma because they're harming the living. When you cross them over, you stop their karmic clock and you're doing that's why that spiritual service is even greater than you could have imagined.
Huh. Okay. Wow. Can you explain the karmic clock and how it works and what the not benefits, but the pros and cons are? Like, if we have karmic debt, that means that we're to have retribution later in the next life, correct?
Well, it always sounds like retribution,
Mm-hmm.
but
Is it
Karma
more
is,
akin to a lesson? Like you did
why don't we
this
look
and
at this as opportunity? Because
ooh.
people often look at karma as always punishing and detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I have the karma to have the conversation,
Hmm.
looking at this slightly differently. We earn karma. People say, oh, if this person came in with a lot of baggage. Well, maybe they came in with a lot of karma. And if a person comes in with, we earn karma life after life after life by the actions we take in each life. So let's say that a person sacrificed themselves for another person. They went out of their
Mm-hmm.
way, or like in the 70s, I think maybe the 80s, there was a
Mm-hmm.
plane that went down in Washington D.C. in Dulles.
Mm.
Um, was it Dulles, or the I think it was, or Reagan Airport. Anyway,
Okay.
plane went down into the Potomac in January. It was unbelievably cold and snowy, and it was snow on the wings. And a guy in a car going over the bridge saw the plane crash, gets out of his car, goes in, and they opened the doors, and he starts pulling passengers out and rescuing them.
Wow.
And they never found his body. He saved, I think at least 10 or 15 people.
Wow.
So this man earned the karma of saving all those lives. He didn't even think about himself. He went to help.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't just military people who do this. You see this with people in all walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
Most people on this planet are really good people.
Yeah.
They're wonderful people. If they weren't, this planet would be, truly a hell.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's going to happen to this man in the next life? Hopefully,
Um,
really wonderful things.
yeah.
People who are kind and giving, that karma has to come back to them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's better if it comes back to you in wonderful ways over a lifetime rather than winning the lottery. Because in the lottery, your karma collapses or piles on you all at once. And unless you're very, very wise,
Mm-hmm.
it is more of a burden than a blessing. When you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at karma,
Okay.
it's simply action and reaction. If you've done
Mm.
something that you're not happy about, but you go and you take a new action and you change it, or you apologize, or you forgive yourself, you forgive the person who harmed you, you seek to make the world a better place, then
Hmm.
you change your frequency cycle. So now that cycle is rising higher and higher. And all
Okay.
of these wonderful things have the potential to come to you. Karma isn't about good or bad or right or wrong. Karma
Mm-hmm.
is always balanced.
Ooh. Okay. I've never heard it put that way before. Karma is always balanced. And that would make a lot of sense because I would assume that you're familiar with tarot, correct?
Yes.
So whenever I hear karma being placed that way, I think of the justice card, so like having the scales sitting there being weighed out. And that's really interesting to think of the karma jackpot as well, because that would be a burden to have a whole bunch of blessings at once. I don't know how a lot of people would deal with that, but that's not really the whole point of this conversation, right? We're
No,
kind of
maybe we
going.
can have a whole nother conversation about tarot.
Oh, yeah.
It's way too complicated for today.
Yeah. Boy, yeah, don't we can't get started on that.
No. But there are people who have won the lottery and
Hmm.
they've handled it with such elegant grace and generosity that they stayed in balance. I mean, I don't know if you'd like a couple of examples.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, could you give me a couple of examples?
There was a couple in a small town who won, I don't know how many millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they won the lottery.
Uh-huh.
It was a staggering amount of money. And when one person or one family wins this much money, what happens is it throws everything else around them out of balance. And you end up with people who are jealous.
Yeah.
But these people were very wise.
Huh.
They had a meeting with, the townspeople. And they said, we believe that we have been blessed with this money.
Mm-hmm.
And we would like to do something that will bless everyone in the town. We would like ideas that we can use to take what has been beneficial to us and share it with everyone. So they built this massive community center, and there was enough money to maintain the center and hire staff and keep it going,
Whoa.
because these people want a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
And then everyone in the community can use it, whether it's, you're doing ice skating or roller skating, or you're having a birthday party or a music festival. So everyone can benefit from the good fortune of this family.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave to other charities, and they helped people in need, and they always had plenty of money. People
Huh.
were not resentful. They and the town stayed in balance
Huh. Okay.
because they were generous.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't flaunt it like, look what happened to me, blah, blah, blah. And of course, when someone wins the lottery, they're inundated with people wanting money.
Mm-hmm.
They were very clear about how it would be spent. There was
Huh.
another woman who won the lottery in small amounts, 100,000 here, 10,000 there. And she set up an intention. I thought this was fascinating. She set up an intention to win the lottery, because when I win the lottery, I'm going to use this money for X. And she kept her word to herself. So
Ooh.
every time she won the money, she gave it to a charity, or she helped, this cause, or she did something with it where it wasn't about, it's all me, I get to keep it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
It was the largesse of her heart that really gave her that sense of balance and happiness.
Uh-huh.
I have a neighbor who
Okay.
does very well. And this individual bought 435 acres of land that sits on top of the last uncontaminated aquifer in our geographic area.
Holy cow.
And it just sits as forest.
Oh, yes.
It's not developed. It is of enormous benefit to the community.
Yeah.
So this individual, quiet, retiring, no fanfare, is giving to a community and to generations into the future,
Mm-hmm.
because he's affecting in a positive way the water supply.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a lot of money, there are some very quiet things that you can do. There was a logging company
Mm-hmm.
that bought the last pristine part of a forest somewhere in Africa that had the only tree that of this particular species that grows anywhere in the world. And all these environmentalists came to them, and they pleaded and pleaded. And so you know what this company did? They listened. They set it up as a preserve, and it was never touched.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Justice.
there's an industrialist in
Uh-huh.
Japan. And this industrialist donated millions of dollars to the people right at the level of the Sahara, and they've already planted 1 million trees. They're changing
Whoa.
the entire weather configuration. They now have rain. They now have crops. They are really building things so that they have financial and food independence. That's what that industrialist quietly did to help the world. So if somebody's using a great deal of their wealth for the benefit of others, this guy still has a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're using it for this greater good, quietly, no brass band, no press, you're not on The View, you are being of service in a quiet way.
Mm-hmm.
That act of service and kindness has to come back to this individual in a future life. Also,
Yeah.
it can happen in your current life.
Okay. Interesting. Those are some really powerful examples, and I'm really glad that they went the way that they did, because whenever you said the forest part, I was like, oh, please don't cut down the trees. Thankfully, they did not get cut down. Yes. And oh boy, oh no, that question. Why did it leave?
It'll come back.
I hope so, because it is really good.
I have no doubt.
But with karma and everything like that, it's interesting because there's that saying that goes around that opposites attract, right? So if someone is raising their vibration and gaining more positive karma towards them, does that mean negative influences are attracted to them as well?
No,
Oh,
no, the higher your frequency, you become toxic for negative influences.
ooh, okay.
The higher
Uh-huh.
the higher your frequency, the harder it is for the dark ones to come at you and feast upon you because it's not personal, you're just lunch. But you'd really like to take yourself off the menu.
Yeah, yeah. I remembered the question. So you said doing everything quietly and doing everything kind of on the unseen level. And if I'm not mistaken, that's actually a spiritual principle that's in the Bible, correct?
It's a spiritual principle in many traditions, the Bible as well. In other words, you're doing what you're doing quietly so that you can just get on with your day.
Hmm.
You're keeping the principle you're talking about is keep your ego in check.
Yeah.
You're just, if you have the ability to do something and you do so, and then you just move on with your day, you keep yourself and the action in balance.
There's the word.
Back to balance. It's a feng shui concept because I am also a feng shui consultant.
Ooh.
When
Huh.
you understand how balance works, that's how psychic ability works. You're feeling what is out of balance. You're feeling it. You're sensing it. You can walk into a room and feel that something is terribly out of balance. I mean, some people can walk in, you walk in a house and feel an unmade bed because it's chaos.
Yeah. Yep. And
Does that answer your question?
yep, it totally does. Because it's one of those things that it's funny to see people try to act so quote unquote righteous, and it's like you don't have to go and prove it. You just go and do it. But it's always been a little something I've been like just billionaires in general. I always find it interesting how that they can be so dragony, just let me take all this money and not distribute it towards the masses. But I'm also not one of the billionaires, and I would totally hopefully not do that because I would like to spread joy everywhere. But it's one of those things I would have to keep my ego in check, and I don't know how I would do that. Does that make sense?
I think that a lot of times it's a mindset. Some
Mm,
people are just shy by nature.
yeah.
They really are. And ego is an important thing to have. Let me explain.
Oh, okay.
If you're going to have a surgeon who's doing brain surgery,
Mm-hmm.
you want the surgeon to have the confidence to have enough ego to cut your head open,
Oh,
do the
yeah.
job, and keep your brain intact. But you want him to have been able to check his ego enough so that if a nurse or the anesthesiologist says, you need to pay attention to this, he's not so arrogant he won't listen.
Oh.
And when you balance, that's again balance.
Mm-hmm.
When the surgeon sets it up, whether it's an orthopedic or a heart surgeon, such that anyone on the team can point out a problem, then that surgeon has opened the door for far more positive outcomes because there's nothing tyrannical. Now, that surgeon who is the head of it has fostered a team environment.
Mm.
That team environment has now an investment in the positive outcome for the patient. So you want him or her to have this ego, which is a level of confidence to be able to do it. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
got to have a pretty amazing ego, to command a freaking submarine
Yeah.
or an aircraft carrier or, a B-2 bomber.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have enough humility to respect every single crew member that makes that billion-dollar piece of equipment work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
without that team effort, that balance, you're
Mm-hmm.
just so much hot air and you're destined for disaster. You keep your karma in balance and you will have a successful life.
Oh, I love that. And I think that is probably the key that a lot of people have been looking for in terms of how do I actually progress in life, And I think it's because a lot of things are out of balance in some way, shape, or form.
Well, this is
Oh,
true for relationships.
Yeah.
Marriages. I mean,
Uh-huh.
marriages are not easy.
No,
The
they're not.
dewy-eyed, people at the altar, come face to face with financial challenges, health challenges, in-law problems, and that are constantly pulling you out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
And you're navigating through this often minefield. It's an emotional minefield.
Yeah.
Strong marriages, they sit down, they get mad, they make up, they apologize,
Mm-hmm.
and they keep the courtesy and respect for one another.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are really important. And then our children are grown and they have families of their own.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are adults, they're not children. We have a policy that we don't ever drop in. We call, we'd like to stop by for X. Or
Mm-hmm.
would you like to come to dinner? Is it convenient if? Every single time.
Mm.
We never assume. Would you please? The constant courtesy keeps relationships in balance.
Ooh, okay. Constant courtesy. I've never heard that phrase, and I think it's something that I'm going to have to adopt for myself in my personal life. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I also am crazy about all of the spouses that our children selected. They
Ooh, what do you
picked
mean by that?
finest they picked the finest people we could ever have imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And their relationships are strong and happy. And they go through their ups and downs, which are none of our business. If they need something from us, they can ask. There's no
Mm-hmm.
gossip between family members.
Hmm.
We have an
Wow.
issue, it's with one family member. I've watched families destroy themselves. I've watched marriages be utterly shattered because in-laws and become outlaws and pit each other and are competing.
Mm-hmm.
What is it you really want? You want your children to have a spouse who loves and respects them every
Yeah.
day.
Uh-huh.
You need to mind your own business. You
Mm.
need to be reminded of that. Maybe you didn't pick that person. But whatever
Ooh.
lessons your child is, your adult child is going to have, this is their life. And
Mm.
that has to be respected,
Yeah.
which keeps relationships in balance.
Continuous courtesy and respect and balance. The three key things to a successful marriage and really any relationship, right?
That's true for business relationships. It's true for when you're a boss and you have, team members or crew members. I mean, I had 150 men work for me at any given time. And
Yeah.
it's I mean, I wasn't wearing dolphins. So I had to defer to them and ask their assistance and build the team
Mm.
and do outside of the box thinking. And then once that was done, we could end up with really successful outcomes that
Hmm.
made a huge difference for people and then promote your people. You're not going to be there
Yeah.
forever. Train your replacement. Give them credit when they do the right thing or they have a
Hmm.
genius idea. Promote them. It will
Yeah.
always come back to you.
I love that. And it's, again, always coming back to someone. And it seems that it's one of those recurring themes on this episode, especially. So we got balance coming, karma coming back to either haunt us or elevate us, right? And then we've got the unseen, the ghost aspect of everything. So what happens after I leave this body, you know? So, and I'm looking at the time and I'm like, do we just keep going? Because this is so good. But we are getting really close to the game segment part. So,
Okay.
and
Well,
we
we could
should be able
stop
to,
it here and go into the game segment. That would be good.
yeah. Oh, but I do have to ask, and I know we talked about it before the show, but this way the whole audience kind of knows that we can see you back on the show in the future, I hope, because this is a really awesome conversation.
Oh, I would love to. You're a blast.
Sweet. I love it. And I've got so many questions, and I just got like so many questions. This is great. I love it. But we are at the 47-minute mark for anyone that's listening, and this is also for myself for later, so I can maybe time this better because this is still rough drafty. So hopefully we can get this really awesome. But if you're ready to go, we can go.
Go.
Alrighty. Tina, thank you very much for this amazing conversation that we've had so far. I'm
Pleasure.
loving it. I know our audience is loving it, and I know that they're going to be itching just to have you back on, just like I am already myself. But in the meantime, we have a new segment on the show. I was about to say channel. We have a new segment on the show called Ghosted and Grounded, and I'm going to give you some prompts. I would like a little bit of hang on, let me restart because I kind of got a little too ahead of myself. All right, Tina, it's time for a segment we call Ghosted and Grounded. We're going to explore both the spiritual and the psychological, the seen and the unseen, the haunted and the healing. I'll give you a prompt, something a little mystical and a little mental healthy, and I want your quick gut level take. Are you ready to dance between dimensions?
Absolutely.
Sweet. All right. Number 1, a ghost stuck in a hospital versus a person stuck in grief. What's the first step to helping each one move on?
The crossing over prayer.
I love it. Number 2, what's scarier? Unfinished business in the afterlife or unspoken trauma in real life?
There is no unfinished business in the afterlife, and unspoken trauma will create the problem in the afterlife.
I love that. Thank you. Number 3, what's the best spiritual tool for grounding yourself after helping a ghost?
Prayers of gratitude to God and to the angels for enabling you to be of spiritual service to the dead.
Okay, that's really good. I haven't thought about that one before. Thank you. And let's see, number 4, what's one emotion ghosts express most often?
Cold, fear, and grief, and guilt.
Cold, fear, guilt, and grief?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
not just one, it's an overlay. They're cold. It's a cold of loneliness, and they're afraid, and they're grieving, and they're guilty. Even though they don't quite know why they're guilty, but an awful lot of them feel guilty.
Yeah,
They think God can't love them, which is untrue.
I know that feel all too well myself. And that's not true, like you said. But thank you for that. And number 5, if karma had a warning label, what would it say?
Think before you act.
I love that one. I think that one's perfect. Number 6, what human behavior draws ghostly unattention the most?
What human behavior isn't just one, can be multiple things.
Okay.
It can be more than just one. If you are emitting light, you won't even know it, and you can attract them. If you're drinking or doing drugs or gambling, you will attract ghosts who have that habit.
Very good to know. Is there any other behavior on that list? Or is it just all bad
There
stuff?
are, it can be if you are doing things that are black magic, tarot, Ouija, runes, angel cards, oracle cards are all black magic. If you're doing that, you will open up a portal to hell, and you will invite not just ghosts, but lower realm intelligences and black magicians. Your life will be hell.
Let's see. Number 7. What's the metaphysical version of setting boundaries?
Balance,
Balance
karmic balance, and courage.
and courage.
Those aren't metaphysical. Those are just the most basic things. You have to be seeking balance. If you have to set a boundary, something is automatically out of balance. And you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, but it takes courage to bring a situation or relationship back into balance.
Oh, I've never thought about it that way. That is really, really good. Thank you. Whoa. Maybe we should have more questions like that. But number 8 is haunted house or toxic workplace. Who are you going to call first?
Who are you going to call first for both of them?
Yeah, either or. I mean, let's say which one would take precedence if you were called to the scene.
Well, you'd be called to 2 scenes. So I would have to say the haunted house.
The haunted house.
Yes.
Okay. Sweet. Thank you much. And then number 9, what's one belief the living need to let go of to find peace?
That ghosts have unfinished business, and it's okay to let them continue to haunt you. that's wrong.
Okay. Huh.
They're
I've
not your
never thought
friend.
about that one.
They're not your friend. They're not there to entertain you and have spine tingling or be a tourist attraction. It is, you need to help them, and it will be the compassion you'll want for yourself.
Okay. That is some powerful stuff. Thank you. And then number 10. Do ghosts need therapy or just compassion?
Just compassion. You're not there to be their therapist. You can't, because they cannot give you what you think a therapist would require. The only place they're going to get that is in the heaven world, and the only way they'll get that is if you cross them over.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that insightful knowledge. And that is something that I think all of us can take. I was going to say I don't know what phrase I was about to say, but my brain said don't say it, so I didn't say it. Sorry. But we have actually reached the end of the questions. And Tina Erwin, because you are, well, a walker between the seen, the unseen, a commander, and just all around awesome, we have bestowed upon you the honorary title, the Soul Rescuer General, because you are the commander of compassion across realms. So, Tina, thank you very much for being on Retrieving Sanity today. I do have one last question for you, though, if you don't mind.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. The name of this podcast is Retrieving Sanity, and we explore how all facets of life impact mental health. Looking at the incredible motley adventures of your life, what does retrieving sanity personally mean to you today, and what's one practice or perspective you believe is crucial for anyone on that journey?
The more you pray, whether it's my prayers in the Crossing Over Rare book, the Lord's Prayer, the more you pray, the more you connect to God. The more you connect to God, the more you raise your frequency. The more you do that, the more you come into balance, and it will help bring your entire soul structure and mind into a beautiful place of balance. It's work, but it's worth it.
I love that. Thank you very much for being able to provide such clarity, insight, and profound wisdom on the show today, Tina.
You're very welcome.
But the last little bit of the show, do you have any shout outs for yourself or those around you that you just want to give a little bit of gratitude to?
I would like to thank everyone who's listening to this show and who listened to me today, and that I am grateful that you'll consider these concepts. You don't have to. Experiment with them. Don't just believe me. Do your own research. I am grateful to the angels, and I have a spiritual team that, I'm not that clever, so I do have a little help when I'm answering all these questions. So I'm always grateful to the team that helps me, and to the divine beings that guide this poor, 5'1" human along the path. And Keegan, I want to thank you for having me today, and for your listeners for being open to new concepts. That takes courage. And experiment with the prayers. Experiment with all kinds of things in a wonderful way that brings you into balance. One of the experiments is crossing over the dead. Remember, that really will be the compassion you will want for yourself or someone you love. Because what happens on the other side, make a great next show, is amazing.
Well, Tina, thank you for your kind words, and thank you for being on the show, because this has been one for the history books, one for Retrieving Sanity's history books, and I can't wait until the next episode, because, man, we've got some really good stuff to cover, and maybe we're going to uncover some things that we didn't even touch on this time around either, so people definitely need to check in then, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Tina, we did forget one thing, though. Where can people find you if they're trying to, say, clear some ghosts themselves?
I'm on ghosthelpers.com.
Okay.
And my books are on amazon.com. You can also find the books on ghosthelpers.com, and when you click on the book, it takes you into Amazon to make it really easy and fun. On Ghost Helpers, there are prayers that you can say. You don't have to buy a book. If you have a ghost, just say the prayers, or punch it and let me say the prayers for you at least 3 times, and then you can see how this works in your home or Your offices can be very haunted because another quote great episode is predecessor energy. That's super cool. Once you do those things, and there are some fascinating things on the website that will help you, ghosthelpers.com. And again, thank you so much for having me.
No, of course. Ghosthelpers.com, everyone. So be sure to check that out. And Tina, it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure once again. And I can't wait until we have you back on because it's just going to be so good. I'm already excited again. So everyone out there, thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. This is Keegan, and this has been Tina Erwin. We'll see y'all again in the future, but until then, stay a little chilly or a little warm, depending on your preference. You might want to love yourself if you can. Try to love those around you as well, but love yourself first, because then you can't pour from an empty cup. And also, just make sure, try to be a little kind today too. It doesn't take that much energy. Trust me, it really doesn't. So with that being said, we're going to see y'all next week. And again, much love. Shalom and stop. Yay!
Yeah, that was a great show.